Friends, life is not for the faint of heart. If you're soft, life will press you. If you're weak, life will crush you. But if you're hard, truly hard in your spirit, life will respect you. And I'm not talking about being hard-headed or hard-hearted. I'm talking about hard in your will, hard in your discipline, hard in your resolve. The kind of hardness that bends for no storm, yet still grows toward the sun. You don't get that from luck. You get that from design. Let me share 6 ways to harden yourself, not in bitterness, but in strength. Most people spend their whole lives in line for easy, as if it's a store that will eventually open its doors and let them in. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect timing, the perfect conditions. They wait until they feel ready. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Easy doesn't come. And if it does, it's usually a trap. Life doesn't hand out resilience in gift baskets. It doesn't ship courage with free delivery. If you want to become strong, you have to meet life where it's difficult. And here's the catch. Difficult isn't waiting for you on some faraway battlefield. It's already here. It's in that one task you've been putting off for 3 weeks. It's in that one uncomfortable conversation you know you should have. It's in the habit you promised yourself you'd start after the weekend. The problem is that easy whispers. It tells you to do it later. It says, you've had a long day, take it slow. Don't push too hard. And because it whispers sweetly, most people believe it's their friend. But easy is the slowest, kindest assassin you'll ever meet. It won't stab you in the back. It will tuck you in at night and steal your dreams while you sleep. Think about it. Every great thing you admire, the business, the physique, the skill, the life, was built by someone who didn't wait for easy. They were willing to make the call when they were nervous, to go to the gym when they were tired, to study when their friends were out having fun. They understood a simple rule: you can choose comfort now, or you can choose strength later, but not both. And here's the other truth. Easy never stays easy. You take the easy route with your health, and eventually it becomes hard. Hard to breathe, hard to move, hard to recover. You take the easy path in your finances, and you'll discover that debt is the hardest chain to break. You avoid the hard conversations, and suddenly you're in the middle of a broken relationship, wondering why it feels impossible to fix. But the reverse is also true. Hard things get easier. That's the reward. The first run is hard. Your lungs burn, your legs ache, you think about stopping. But after a month, that same run feels light, almost effortless. The first time you speak in public, your heart races like a drum, your hands sweat. After a few dozen times, you don't just survive, you thrive. The hard becomes your normal, so the choice is always yours. Suffer a little now or suffer a lot later. Pay a small price today or pay the full penalty tomorrow. Easy now, hard later. Hard now, easy later. One of the best ways to kill the habit of waiting for easy is to build the instinct of starting ugly. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need the perfect mood. You don't even need the perfect timing. What you need is to move now. Don't wait for the conditions to line up. They won't. Don't wait for motivation to strike. It's a lousy employee. It shows up when it feels like it. When you start before you feel ready, you teach yourself a priceless lesson. You can act in the absence of comfort. That's what separates the hardened from the softened. The hardened learn that they can run when they're tired, speak when they're nervous, work when they're uninspired. The softened wait for the mood to be just right, and they wait forever. I've never met someone who looked back and said, I regret doing the hard thing. But I've met hundreds who said, I wish I had started sooner. I wish I had pushed harder. I wish I hadn't waited. You don't get those years back. The time you spend waiting for easy doesn't prepare you. It only weakens you. So stop making comfort your compass. Make growth your compass. Every day, look for the harder choice and take it. Choose the stairs over the elevator. Speak up in the meeting instead of sitting silent. Read the book instead of scrolling your phone. Small hard things prepare you for big hard things. When you stop waiting for easy, you stop living as a passenger. You grab the wheel. And yes, the road will be steep. Your hands will blister. and the ride will be rough. But one day, you'll look back and see the people still standing at the starting line, still waiting for easy to arrive, and you'll be glad you didn't wait with them. Because the hard road, my friend, is the only road that leads anywhere worth going. Most people believe their strength is tested in the moment of the storm. That's only half true. The real test is whether you've decided who you are before the clouds gather. See, when a crisis hits, there's no time to start building your backbone. There's no time to draw up a moral code or to figure out your boundaries. If you wait until the fire is in the kitchen to start looking for water, you've already lost more than you think. The people who come through life's battles with their dignity intact are the ones who made their decisions in advance. They knew what they stood for, what they refused to compromise, what they would protect at all costs. They didn't have to stop in the middle of chaos and wonder, what do I do now? They already knew. Think of a soldier. A soldier doesn't learn how to react to gunfire during the battle. The training is done long before the fight. Hours, weeks, years of preparation shape his reflexes. By the time the bullets fly, his body and mind are already programmed to respond. It's not panic, it's muscle memory. Your life needs the same approach. You need mental and moral muscle memory. If you haven't decided how you'll respond to temptation, to loss, to failure, to insult, then in the moment, you'll get tossed around like a leaf in the wind. Here's the trap most people tell themselves. I'll know what to do when the time comes. That's a fantasy. When the time comes, you won't be your best self. You'll be your most stressed self. And stress makes people do things they swore they'd never do. They take shortcuts. They betray their own values. They make deals with their fears. Deciding before the crisis means you set your rules now while you're calm. You decide, no matter how hard it gets, I don't lie. No matter how much I lose, I don't quit on my principles. No matter how scared I feel, I move forward. Some people think that sounds rigid, but I call it freedom. Because when your mind is already made up, you're free from debate. You're free from hesitation. You're free from that little voice that says, maybe just this once. I remember meeting a man who lost everything in the market crash. I asked him how he stayed composed when people around him were panicking. He said, because I already decided who I was before I had money, and that hasn't changed. That's what I mean. If your identity shifts with the weather, you'll spend your life rebuilding after every storm. Think about a building in an earthquake zone. If it's designed for earthquakes, the tremors come and go, and the building is still standing. But if you wait until the earthquake to reinforce the structure, it's too late. You can't weld steel beams while the walls are falling. It's the same with your character. You have to reinforce it now. Ask yourself today, what will I do when I'm criticized? What will I do when I fail? What will I do when I'm betrayed? What will I do when I'm tempted with something that feels good but is wrong? Then write the answer in stone. The crisis isn't the time to figure out your morals. It's the time to live them. And living them becomes much easier when you've already rehearsed the role. Here's another truth. Deciding before the crisis gives you speed. While others freeze, you move. While others are busy doubting, you're already taking action. That speed alone can be the difference between winning and losing, between keeping your head above water or drowning in indecision. The world is unpredictable. The market shifts. The people you trust can disappoint you. Your health can falter. Opportunities can vanish. But the one thing you can lock in right now is your own decision-making framework. When you own that, you don't fear the storm. You prepare for it. One of the strongest men I ever met told me, I make my decisions once, and I spend my life living them, not remaking them. That's what being hard looks like. That's what resilience sounds like. So don't wait for the fire to decide where your exits are. Don't wait for the flood to decide how high you'll climb. Decide now. Decide today. And when the crisis comes, and it will, you won't just survive. You'll already be on the other side, waving at the people still trying to make up their minds. The quickest way to weaken yourself is to become unreliable in your own eyes. People People talk about keeping their word to others, and that's important. But the word you give yourself is even more sacred. Every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, you're not just missing a goal. You're chipping away at the trust you have in you. And here's the dangerous part. You might still smile in the mirror. You might still look fine to the outside world, but deep inside, you know you're lying to yourself. That knowledge sits in the background, quietly eroding your confidence. Think about it. When someone else breaks a promise to you, you start doubting them. You hesitate to depend on them. You take their words lightly. Now imagine you're the one breaking promises to you. That means every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start Monday, or I'll quit after this one last time, your mind files the evidence. This person doesn't follow through. Eventually, you stop believing yourself entirely. And here's why this is lethal. Belief is the foundation of action. If you don't believe yourself, you won't commit fully. You'll set goals you already know you won't keep. You'll make half-hearted attempts. You'll live in a constant state of almost. But there's a beautiful reverse to this. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, especially a small one, you add a brick to your internal foundation. You teach yourself, when I say it, I mean it. That belief becomes a superpower. You start moving with more certainty because you know you can count on you. People think confidence is built by other people believing in you. That's not true. Confidence is built by you believing in you. And the fastest road to that is keeping promises to yourself, even when no one else will ever know whether you did or not. You told yourself you'd get up early. Get up early, even if the bed feels warm and no one is watching. You told yourself you'd go to the gym. Go, even if it's raining, even if it's cold, even if you're tired. You told yourself you'd save a portion of your paycheck. Transfer the money before you spend it, even if you want to buy that shiny new thing. It's not about the size of the promise. It's about the consistency. A small promise kept is more powerful than a big promise broken. You can build a castle with small bricks, but you can't build anything with the blueprint for a mansion that never gets started. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Keeping promises to yourself is hard. At first, it feels unnatural because you've trained yourself to negotiate. You've gotten used to your own excuses. Your brain will tell you, just this once. It's okay. But just this once becomes a habit. And that habit will decide your future. You have to get ruthless about it. If you make a commitment to yourself, treat it like a signed contract. If you'd be embarrassed to break it in front of someone else, be embarrassed to break it in front of yourself. Because in reality, you're the most important audience you'll ever have. Here's the magic. Once you start stacking these kept promises, something shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions faster. People start noticing your reliability, even without you advertising it. They trust you more because you trust you more. Keeping promises to yourself doesn't just make you harder. It makes you freer. You're no longer weighed down by the constant guilt of not living up to your own word. You're no longer playing catch up with the version of yourself you wish you were. You're living as that version. And here's the part that will really change you. Start small. Don't begin with a promise that's so big you're bound to fail. Begin with something so doable it's almost silly. Drink that extra glass of water. Do 5 push-ups. Read for 5 minutes. Nail those for a week. Then increase. The goal isn't to impress anyone. It's to retrain your own trust in you. Because if you can trust yourself to do the little things, you'll trust yourself to do the big things. And when you reach that point, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you finally know you can rely on the one person who matters most. Break your promises to others, and you might lose a relationship. Break your promises to yourself, and you lose your own strength. Keep your promises to yourself, and you'll build a life where your own word, is all the proof you need that you can do anything. Most people run from pain like it's the enemy. They think if something hurts, it must be wrong. But the truth is, pain is just proof that you're in the arena. And bruises, Those little badges of battle are the receipts you get for showing up. Every bruise tells a story. It says, I tried something that could have beaten me, and I'm still here. The problem is, we've been trained to avoid anything that might leave a mark. We've been told to play it safe, to stay comfortable, to not push too hard. And while that advice might keep you unhurt, it also keeps you untested. The bruise is a reminder that growth always leaves a mark. You can't learn a new skill without the sting of making mistakes. You can't get stronger without the ache of muscles that have been worked past their limit. You can't build resilience without taking hits that shake you. When you avoid the bruise, you avoid the lesson. The boxer doesn't learn to keep his guard up by shadowboxing in the mirror. He learns by getting tagged. The musician doesn't toughen her fingers by looking at the strings. She toughens them by pressing until the calusas come. The entrepreneur doesn't develop strategy by reading a blog. He develops it by making moves, failing, and adjusting. Pain is not the problem. It's the sign you're stretching past your old capacity. But here's the thing, you can't just tolerate it. You have to learn to love it. Because when you love it, you stop flinching. You stop hesitating before the hard work. You stop negotiating with the very thing that's making you stronger. At first, you'll hate the bruise. It will feel like proof you're not good enough yet. That's fine. But keep going. Somewhere along the way, you'll look at that mark differently. You'll start to think, that's the spot I earned. You can't buy that feeling. You can't download it. You can't talk yourself into it without earning it. It comes only from experience. That's why the people who look unshakable aren't fearless. They're just familiar with pain. They've been bruised so many times that it no longer scares them. In fact, it reassures them. If I can survive that, I can survive this. This is why so many people plateau. They want the result without the bruise. They want the skill without the practice. The strength without the strain, the victory without the fight. And so they stay in the comfort zone, waiting for some magical, painless path to progress. But the comfort zone is where your potential goes to die. Here's the irony, the bruise you fear today will be the one you brag about tomorrow. You'll tell the story of the time you got knocked down and still finished the race. You'll talk about the night you stayed up until 2 a.m. to finish the project. You remember the deal that fell apart and how it forced you to find a better one. If you want to get hard, truly unshakable, you can't just endure the bruise. You have to invite it. You have to be willing to put yourself in situations where the risk of a bruise is real. That's the only way to grow beyond the size you are now. The bruise is not the sign of failure. It's the sign of engagement. You only bruise in battle. You only bruise in practice. You only bruise in pursuit. The people who never get bruised aren't lucky. They're absent. The way to make peace with pain is to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking, this hurts, I must be doing something wrong, start thinking, this hurts, so I must be doing something right. That doesn't mean you ignore injury or recklessness, but it does mean you accept that effort leaves marks, and those marks are beautiful. One day, the very bruise that embarrassed you will remind you that you are tougher than you thought. The scar that once looked ugly will be proof that you've lived and fought and come out stronger. That's what it means to love the bruise. It means you've stopped seeing it as damage and started seeing it as evidence. So go get bruised. Try the lift that scares you. Have the conversation that could sting. Enter the competition you might not win, because every bruise you collect is another layer of armor. And one day, when life throws a real punch, you won't run. You'll smile, adjust your stance, and say, I've taken worse than that. You can't stay sharp if you spend your life leaning against cushions. The people around you are either making you stronger or making you softer. There's no middle ground. If you want to be unshakable, you have to choose your circle like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. It's been said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's not just a motivational quote, it's a warning. Spend your time with complainers, and you'll start complaining. Spend it with quitters, and you'll start quitting. Spend it with people who dodge responsibility, and you'll start finding excuses. But spend your time with stone. People who are unmovable in their values, relentless in their discipline, and consistent in their actions, and you'll begin to match their weight. Stone doesn't get dented by every little thing, and when you're close to it, you learn to stand firm, too. The problem is, many people choose their circle out of convenience, not conviction. They stick with who's nearby, who's easy, who's comfortable. And that's how they get dull. Because comfort is contagious, and so is complacency. If everyone around you is content with being average, it's going to feel strange to aim for extraordinary. You need people who stretch you, people who call you out when you slack, people who don't just cheer for you, but challenge you, people who make you a little uncomfortable, not because they're unkind, but because they refuse to let you settle for less than your best. Iron sharpens iron. But notice something. When iron sharpens iron, there are sparks. It's not gentle. It's not smooth. It's friction, heat, and effort. That's what it takes to get sharp. So if you've built a circle where no one ever challenges you, no one ever disagrees with you, and no one ever pushes you, you're not sharpening. You're rusting. Surrounding yourself with stone doesn't mean surrounding yourself with perfect people. It means surrounding yourself with people who are committed to growth. People who admit their flaws but keep working on them. People who fail but don't quit. People who've been through storms and are still standing. And here's a truth most people don't want to face. Sometimes, to surround yourself with stone, you have to cut loose some wood, straw, and paper. Not everyone can come with you. Some people belong to earlier chapters of your life, and if you keep dragging them into your new chapter, they'll tear the pages. This doesn't mean you become cold or arrogant. It means you become intentional. You decide that your time is too precious to spend it with people who drain you, distract you, or dilute you. When you surround yourself with stone, your standards rise without effort. You don't even have to force it. You'll naturally match the level of the people around you. If your friends read, you'll read. If they train, you'll train. If they chase goals, you'll chase goals. It's not magic, it's environment. Look at the people who are doing what you want to do. Watch how they move, how they think, how they respond to setbacks. Then get close enough to learn, not from what they say, but from how they live. Stone teaches by example. Here's a test after spending time with someone. Do you feel lighter and sharper, or heavier and duller? That answer tells you a lot, because stone leaves you stronger than it found you. Don't wait for these people to find you. Go find them. Join the group, attend the event, ask for the coffee meeting. Seek out mentors, even if you have to offer value first. Position yourself where the conversations are bigger than gossip and the goals are bigger than survival. And remember, if you want to be surrounded by stone, you have to be stone yourself. You can't expect to attract strong, disciplined, resilient people if you're not willing to live by those same standards. You have to show up consistently, keep your word, and prove you belong in that circle. Stone is not always warm, but it is always reliable. And reliability is worth more than charm. Charm will make people like you. Stone will make you unshakable. In the end, the choice is simple. Stay among the soft and risk becoming soft yourself, or surround yourself with stone and watch your edges sharpen. One path feels comfortable now, but will cost you later. The other path feels challenging now, but will pay you for the rest of your life. You don't wake up one morning with unshakable toughness. You don't attend one seminar, read one book, or have one aha moment and suddenly become bulletproof. Hardness, the real kind, doesn't arrive in an instant. It's forged in small, daily acts that look insignificant on their own, but over time stack into an unbreakable core. The problem is that people wait for big tests to prove they're tough. They think, when life throws something major at me, I'll rise to the occasion. But here's the truth. You won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of your habits. And if your habits are soft, you'll break. That's why small toughness matters. Every day gives you opportunities to train it. They're everywhere, so ordinary that most people walk right past them. waking up when you said you would, finishing the workout instead of quitting halfway, speaking up in the meeting when your voice shakes, choosing water over soda when you promised yourself you'd eat better. These moments are your training ground. And the beauty is, they don't require a stadium or an audience. They just require you. Every time you take the harder option in a small moment, you're building the reflex you'll need in big moments. People underestimate how powerful small wins are. They think toughness comes from dramatic acts, climbing mountains, running marathons, facing public humiliation. And yes, those things forge you, but they're rare. Daily toughness is built in the trenches of the ordinary. It's the quiet discipline of doing what's right when it's easier not to. Here's why small toughness is so effective it removes negotiation. If you can train yourself to do hard things without debate in small areas, you'll be able to do it in big areas. You won't stop to weigh every option. You'll have already wired yourself to take the strong path. Let's say you train yourself to never hit snooze. That might seem like nothing. But what you're really training is the skill of doing what you decided instead of what you feel like. Apply that same skill to business, relationships, and health, and you'll see it's worth everything. The people who crumble in the face of real adversity are usually the ones who practiced avoidance in the small stuff. They got used to quitting at the first sign of discomfort. They built a habit of backing down, and when life handed them something serious, they simply followed their training. Small toughness also has a compounding effect. Miss one hard choice, and it's easy to miss another. But hit one, and the next one becomes easier. You start to feel proud of yourself. That pride turns into momentum, and momentum turns into identity. Before long, you're not just doing hard things. You're the kind of person who does hard things. You don't have to start big. In fact, you shouldn't. Choose something so simple you can't fail, and commit to it. It might be making your bed every morning. It might be taking a cold shower for 30 seconds. It might be writing down 3 things you're grateful for before bed. Whatever it is, treat it like it matters. Because it does. And here's the rule: never miss twice. Missing once happens. You're human. But missing twice means you're starting a new pattern, and patterns decide your future. Over time, these tiny acts of discipline become part of you. The workouts that used to feel impossible become your warm-up. The conversations you used to dread become second nature. The setbacks that used to crush you barely make you flinch. That's not because life got easier. It's because you got stronger. Think of it like carrying a backpack. At first, you put in a small rock every day, so small you barely notice. But after a month, the weight is heavy. If you've been carrying it daily, your back is stronger. If you haven't, it crushes you. Daily toughness is your training weight for life. You carry it so that when life drops something heavy on you, you're already conditioned. Most people want the reward of toughness without paying the daily price. But there's no shortcut. If you skip the small tests, you fail the big ones. If you pass the small tests, you walk into the big ones ready. So don't wait for life to give you toughness. Give it to yourself one small hard choice at a time. Over weeks, months, years, those choices will stack into something unshakable. And when life finally throws its hardest punch, you'll be able to smile, take the hit, and keep moving forward because you've been training for it all along.